Hello and welcome you all on today's lesson. This is a poem composed by the great English poet JohN Milton. The title of the poem is On Shakespeare 1630. In this poem, we will know about the works of Shakespeare. I'm your host R.K. Sharma, and I will welcome you on in my channel Knowledge Diary. So let us proceed with this poem. Let me remind you that in this video we will going to see some important questions and answers, paraphrasing and simple explanation of the poem also. So here is the poem. What needs by Shakespeare for his honored bones? The labor of an age in piled stones, or that his hallowed relics should be hid under a starry pointing pyramid. Dear son of memory, great heir of fame, what needest thou such weak witness of thy name? Thou in our wonder and astonishment hast built thyself a living long monument. Here you have seen that Shakespeare is called as dear son of memory. He is heir of fame also. Fame means the popularity, famous. And no kind of monument or tombstone is required for such an honored person, a creator. And for detail we will go into line by line description. Let me read the poem first for you. For whilst to the save of slow endeavouring art thy easy numbers flow, and that each heart hath from the leaves of thy unvalued book those Delphic lines with deep impatience took, then thou our fancy of itself bereaving, don't make us marvel with too much conceiving, and so sepulchred in such pomp dost lie, that kings for such a tomb would wish to die. Now we are going to have line-wise explanation here. For first four lines, on Shakespeare 1630 by JohN Milton is a 16-line poem that is contained within a single stanza of text. Due to the rhyming nature of the lines and the composition of the text itself, the piece may be considered a sonnet. Additionally, a reader should consider the subject matter when trying to categorize this piece. The speaker focuses on utilizing the life and work of William Shakespeare, thereby making this piece an epitaph. This type of poem is often short and witty. They generally focus on the death of a specific person. Milton was seeking to honor Shakespeare the man, but more importantly his literary contributions. यहाँ पर बताना उचित रहेगा कि ये एक 16 लाइनों की पोइम है और इसकी राइमिंग नेचर को देखते हुए और इसके कंपोजिशन को देखते हुए हम इसे सोनेट भी कह सकते हैं। अगर इसके सब्जेक्ट मैटर को देखा जाए तो हम यहां पर इसको एक कैटेगराइजेशन कर रहे हैं। यहाँ का जो वक्ता है उसने, कवि ने इसमें शेक्सपियर के जीवन और उसके जो बौद्धिक और जो सम्मान उसको प्रदर्शित किया है वो यहाँ पर उसके साहित्यिक जो योगदान है उसको ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण माना है। Now the next four lines, as mentioned above, this piece is a 16-line poem contained within one stanza. The lines are divided into heroic couplets. This means that they rhyme in pairs from the beginning to the end of the poem. Milton chose to further structure. This piece is in iambic pentameter, a very popular metrical pattern that also happened to be the favorite of Shakespeare. यहाँ पर 16 लाइन की इस कविता को अगर देखा जाए तो इसको एक पूरा स्टेंजा के रूप में माना गया है। तो ये हीरोइक कपलेट के रूप में निकल करके आता है और शुरू से अंत तक हम कविता में जो एम्बाइक पेंटामीटर है उसको पाते हैं। ये एक प्रकार की लिरिकल क्वालिटी होती है। तो जो इसका पैटर्न है इसकी वजह से ये शेक्सपियर को बहुत पसंदीदा बना देती है। Now the next lines, on Shakespeare 1630 was penned in 1630 for the preface of the second folio of Shakespeare's complete works. This makes it an occasional lyric, as it was written to commemorate a specific event. Generally, this type of poetry is connected to performance and patronage. Circumstance found poets writing for their patrons whenever the need arose. The content of this piece is relatively straightforward, especially when considered alongside some of Milton's more complex works. This was certainly intentional, as it was meant to be read by a wider, more commercial audience. In the first stanza on Shakespeare 1630, the speaker begins by asking the reader a question. It takes up the first 4 lines, a quatrain of text. He asks whoever may be listening to old Shakespeare, now that he is dead, needs with his honored bonds. It is important to note in the first line that Milton refers to Shakespeare as my Shakespeare. He feels a connection to the writer that he believes will be shared by those who eventually read the text, perhaps in tandem with the second folio. From the start, it is clear Milton has a high opinion of Shakespeare. He is dead, but even his bones are honorable. Milton knows, though, that Shakespeare was above such things. His presence and his nature, which borders on the divine, do not call for vast memorials and shrines to his memory. In the following lines, Milton expands on the meaning of the first line. He wants to make sure the reader understands that erecting monuments to Shakespeare's name should be a questionable enterprise. He believes that there was and is no reason to hide his hallowed relics under a structure such a starry pointed pyramid. Milton does not believe Shakespeare would want his earthly remains treated in such a way. His true argument is the work he left behind. In comparison to that, his bones, although hallowed by the speaker, are meaningless. जैसे कि अपने चर्चा की है कि शेक्सपियर के लिए किसी प्रकार के मोन्यूमेंट को बनाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है और उसका जो फिजिकल जो रिलिक्स जो रिमेन्स है उनको किसी तरह का पिरामिड की आवश्यकता भी नहीं है, क्योंकि शेक्सपियर का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन था दैट वाज रिमार्केबल एंड इट इज स्टिल liked and appreciated by most of the people of the world. And in the next 4 lines, the speaker goes on to refer to Shakespeare as the dear son of memory, the leftovers from his vastly important existence are nothing but the offspring of true memory. They are the heir to his fame, not the fame and genius itself. Milton poses another question to his readers and to Shakespeare himself. He asks, "What needest thou with such weak witness of thy name?" As stated previously, he does not see the purpose in creating something physical for or preserving the physical remnants of someone as important as Shakespeare. Any witness of this kind would be weak in comparison to his overall legacy. कि अगली 4 पंक्तियों में शेक्सपियर को डियर सन ऑफ मेमोरी कहा है और उसको उत्तराधिकारी बताया है प्रसिद्धि का, क्योंकि वह स्वयं प्रसिद्ध और जीनियस था। वो ये कहता है कि अगर इस प्रकार की कोई विटनेस शेक्सपियर के लिए तैयार की जाती है तो ये उसकी कमजोरी होगी, शायद ये वीक विटनेस होगी एक प्रकार से। तो इसलिए कोई फिजिकल या उसके जो फिजिकल रेमिनेंट्स है उनको प्रिजर्व करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। तो यहां पर ये शेक्सपियर के बारे में चर्चा की गई है। आगे देखिए, इन द नेक्स्ट क्वार्टेन द स्पीकर रेफर्स टू द अदर पोएट्स who strive to create work as powerful as Shakespeare's. They are the creators of slow enduring art. This speaks to the nature of their poetry. It is slow and inspiring, and to the fact that it doesn't quite reach the level of art, or at least when compared to Shakespeare. In contrast to these poor writers who are nowhere near Shakespeare's level, Milton brags on Shakespeare's ability to make his words or numbers flow easily. They come to him without struggle, or at least so it seems to Milton. Next, Milton turns to the audience who has engaged so profoundly with Shakespeare's poetry and drama. They take from the leaves of thy unvalued book someone akin to the poetry of the gods. He references Shakespeare's Delphic lines, an allusion to the Greek god of poetry, Apollo. In the final 4 lines, the Shakespeare reveals what kind of tomb Shakespeare does have. It is the only one that is truly befitting for someone of his importance. His works and his memory have come to live within his readers and all those who saw his plays performed. As we grieved for his loss, our bodies turned into the marble sepulchre in which Shakespeare now rests. Anyone, including a king, would envy this kind of resting place. It will never decay or die, as it is passed on from reader to reader for the rest of conceivable human history. Now some questions. Why does Milton feel it is not necessary to put up a monument in stone for Shakespeare? कि मिल्टन ऐसा क्यों महसूस करता है कि कोई पत्थर का मोन्यूमेंट शेक्सपियर के लिए बनाया जाना आवश्यक नहीं है? Milton feels that it is not necessary to construct a monument for Shakespeare because he has reached the zenith of his literary output, which cannot be even touched by the other, so he is immortal without monument. And the next question, what does the weak witness of thy name refer to? And the answer is, the weak witness of thy name is a reference of worldly structure like relics, tombs, pyramids, sepulchres, which decay and destroy with the passage of time, while Shakespeare's great literary output is for a stronger witness to his name and fame, which is immortal. Thus, these worldly structures are weak witness in comparison to this immortal literary creation. Some more questions. How does Milton describe Shakespeare as the source of inspiration for all succeeding generations of poets? And the answer, Shakespeare is a great literary warrior. His name and fame is matchless. He has presented almost all aspects of human emotions in his literary output. The coming generations of poets will always learn great lessons from his literary output. What he has written is of universal nature, free from the bondage of time and place. His Delphic lines will be interpreted in different ways. Thus, he will remain a source of inspiration for all succeeding generations of poets. Some more questions. What is the best tribute that posterity has bestowed on Shakespeare? The answer, the best tribute that posterity has bestowed on Shakespeare is that they have always kept him on the esteemed pedestal in their hearts. They have sought lessons from his literary output as they consider his dramas and poems as a great literary output. The generations that came after him have derived inspiration from his work. And the next, what words have been used by Milton for monument? The answer, the words that have been used by monument are pyramid, piled stones, starry pointing, sepulchre, tomb. How has Shakespeare built his monument? Answer is, Shakespeare has built his monument through his literary output. He was so a great writer that even today he is matchless in the art of playwriting. Even no one has touched circumference of heights of his writing skill. That is why even today he has a permanent place in the hearts of his readers. And why does Milton call Shakespeare as my Shakespeare? Milton calls Shakespeare as my Shakespeare because he feels his connection to the dead writer. He believes that whatever he writes will be shared by those who read the text in coming time and will find an intimacy of Milton with Shakespeare. Some more questions. Why does Milton call Shakespeare dear son of memory? And the answer is, Milton calls Shakespeare so because the leftovers from his vastly important existence are nothing but the offspring of true memory. What do you mean by hallowed relics? And the answer, when holy persons pass away, they leave some of things they used in their lifetime like books, walking sticks, spectacles, pen, diary, etc. The people think that these items may be wanted by the dead person in the life after death, so they place these items in his tomb. Thus these items are considered to be hallowed relics. And thanks for your time, and keep watching our channel Knowledge Diary. Hope to see you in our next videos also. Thank you once again. Have a nice learning.